It's turn-based, isn't it?
It is, but it's very fast. You don't feel it. Like it's. I promise
Like
you.
with any cool mechanics or like timing or just purely.
It's just so cool in so many ways. You just gotta play it.
I don't think there's any way around
It's
that
not.
for me.
Yeah.
Just play it, man. You two are like so annoying with your turn-based shit. My chair's falling apart.
Hello and welcome to the Press Start podcast, Press Start Australia's weekly video game discussion podcast, and the last one of the year, no less. I'm your host, Ewan, joined today by my fellow gamers and co-hosts Shannon.
Hello.
And James.
Hello.
Today, we're going to be looking back at our predictions of 2024 to see which of them came true, and also revealing our personal Game of the Year lists. But we do have some news to get into ahead of all of that. But first, I'm curious, have either of you watched any of the Secret Level episodes yet?
No, I was tempted, but then I saw everyone shitting on it, so I didn't bother.
Oh, really?
But people shit on
I've
everything.
actually had the opposite. I've heard positive things about them so far.
Really?
I think they're up. I think each episode is up and down. Is the vibe that I'm getting. Like,
the PlayStation one I saw is like awful and barely PlayStation.
That's what's,
so that
yeah. I'm keen to see like the Pac-Man one now that I know it leads into a new game. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Someone said in describing the Pac-Man one was like, it's fucked. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Like in
they,
a good way?
said fucked in like a good way. Yeah, in a good way.
Yeah, okay.
So I can just have to imagine Pac-Man goes on a murderous rampage, but I wish I'd watched the episode now.
Yeah.
They're
I mean,
quite
it's still
short,
there.
right? So maybe I'll smash through them at some point.
Yeah, and all 15 episodes are out now as well. Having flicked through them earlier, I'm so curious to watch the Concord one. I noted that it like follows the crew of the Implacable, who like, if for those handful of people that actually played the game like me, is who they kind of reference at the start of being like the people that like started the galactic map and all of that. So I'm kind of curious to see this piece of lore for a now dead and buried game to see what comes of that. But yeah, heaps of interesting ones.
There's a season 2 coming.
And there's a season 2 coming. Got greenlit for a second season.
Well-ish.
Yeah. I've heard the New World one is like quite funny and entertaining as well, which I wouldn't have imagined for that kind of game, but I'm curious to see how they've done that too. My question though, on the topic of Secret Level, is do you guys have any preferences of what games that get included for season 2?
Ape Escape.
Resident Evil.
Nah, I'd like, I like the PlayStation one excited me because it was like all their franchises, and then to hear that it's like just very, very minor things was disappointing. I think some multiverse type stuff, like with Nintendo and PlayStation and Xbox, or just different franchises in general, sort of interacting with each other, would be cool to
Blinks
see.
the
Maybe
cat.
there is some of that in this, but what?
James, do you have?
Oh, no, I just said they should do one about Blinks the cat for Xbox. Or
No.
Voodoo Vince.
Timesweeper.
The big heavy hit Conker. They could do a cool Conker one. Or Banjo.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if we get some like properties like kind of resurrected for the sake of this. Like, I would take a Jack and Daxter one. That'd be cool. I mean, no like burning desire for a new Jack and Daxter game, but I reckon kind of it was a cool. Thinking back on it today, I think it is a cool world, and it'd be fun to get a story out of that again for kind of nostalgia's sake, somewhat. But yeah, pleased to see it's been renewed for a second season, and eager to get stuck into this first season that's all out now as well. James, you reviewed a game this week though. Alien Rogue Incursion, I think episode 1 it was technically, right? On
Part 1.
Part
yes.
one.
Part 1.
Zula
Part
will
one.
be
So,
back.
She will be.
how did you find it?
Yeah, I liked it. I really liked it. I'm to be honest, I've felt a bit weird with this review because I don't do a lot of VR reviews, so I don't know if I just get wowed easily because I haven't played a lot. Like, do you know what I mean?
Wow, this
'Cause-
technology's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, like no, obviously I have I've played like the entirety of the Resident Evil games and stuff, but not a lot more. So like, I really like this. I really like the world of Alien. So it was cool to kind of inhabit that space. really hold space for the xenomorphs. But no, but like I did. It was a really fun. It's a mix of like the first movie and the second movie. Like there are parts where it will throw waves of xenomorphs at you, and there are other parts where it just lets you kind of, I'm gonna say, drown in the tension. Like there is like, even the first time I started playing it, just crawling through a vent and having to look around the corner of a vent, and it's just like pitch black, and you don't even want to turn your flashlight on. Do you know what I mean? Like you know something could be there.
Did you do I think famous jump scream?
No, I'm a little bit more seasoned now, so not as much. I did jump a few times. It's just because the xenomorphs in this game are quite sneaky. You often obviously hear them on the motion detector or something, but sometimes they might just disappear straight away. Like they don't always attack you all the time. So the game is quite clever. I don't know if it's doing it on purpose or this is just how I experienced it, but you might be like, oh, okay, they're gone. But then you might turn around, and when they're walking, they're quite silent. So then there's something behind you straight away. Do you know what I mean? It's just very startling. Yeah. But yeah, like really, really good game. It's very similar to, like, I would say the atmosphere reminds me a lot of BioShock in that it's this like, this facility that's gone to shit, and you kind of learn about what's going on through logs and audio messages and stuff. But then the actual, I guess, structure of it all is very Dead Space in terms of, you've got to go repair this, and then you might go do that, and it's like, oh, but when you did that, something else broke. So it's very simple in its approach. It doesn't do a lot new in terms of the lore and stuff from Alien. Like it does feel like it's treading through very familiar territory. Yeah. But it does set some really cool stuff up for part 2. So, and I think that'll be the unique part of it. But in my review, I said this as well. I do feel like by the time I'd finished it, it's about 8 to 10 hours, I think, for most players. It's hard to tell with VR too, because I had to take regular breaks because it is quite tense. Like I just had to release some tension like every few minutes. But yeah, it felt like I'd seen everything it could do. So I'm very intrigued to see what more they could do for a part 2. Like I did feel like it was any longer, it would have run its course for me. But like it felt perfect, like just right.
Yeah, that's a long VR game. I can't think of
Is it? Because I think Metro was the same, isn't it? I feel like Metro was at 8 to 10 hours.
I haven't played Metro, but I feel like most are around like 4 to 6, even the bigger ones.
Yeah, and this was $60. So and that's the thing. Like, even though this wasn't advertised as a part 1 initially, and there is a part 2 coming out, I don't feel like shortchanged, right? Like it still feels full and complete. I think you to get the most out of the story, you will have to play part 2. Unfortunately, we don't really know what that looks like, if it's another game or a free update or like what the go is there. They've been a bit like, they haven't said anything about that. But I think it's great. Like, I think Isolation is still like really up there for me for Alien games. Just the stealthiness of that is just really cool, and it being one alien mostly. Is just a different vibe, right? But this is like a really good in between spot for me. Like I think they did a really good job, and I really enjoyed it. So
nice. I'm very pleased. I worry about playing a horror game in VR. I just don't know if I've got it in me. Mostly because it's really hard to play with friends. Obviously, James. Like I want to experience horror games.
I think
with
VR
as many people around me as possible.
No, VR's like a good way to do that, because like I think when you're in the headset still, like you're kind of isolated from everyone else, but they can all see you getting scared because of the the pass through on the TV and stuff. Like I think that's all quite a good way to experience it.
I have done it one time, and Shannon snuck up behind me and grabbed me in the shoulder.
Oh yeah,
and
no,
I just about shat myself.
That's like
the rest
to me. That's
history.
like a big. That's bad VR etiquette, Shannon. Like you need to
this
respect
was like
the space.
This was
of the player.
PSVR 1, so it was like it wasn't like last week. It was like when it was funny to do that.
Well, I mean,
I've clearly never moved on.
I think that's the thing about VR as well, is like it's all these simple things. Like these xenomorphs are all running at you, right? And you've got 4 weapons that all need to be reloaded. And in any other game, you're kind of sprinting and just pressing X to or square to reload or whatever. But in this, you actually have to pull the bullet out of, its casing, put it into the gun and shit, and you just fumble so hard with all that stuff. It just adds so much more to the experience. That's what I really appreciate about VR, is it just makes things so much more tense. Even stuff because it's obviously in first person. There's a bit involving a face hugger that I've seen so many Alien movies, and the face huggers have always grossed me out. There's something about them. But in this, I had to close my eyes. It was just so gross. I just hated the it just puts you in the situation so well. So yeah, I think really, really, really solid. I really recommend it.
What did you play it on? Which VR headset?
It's only PSVR 2 at the moment, I think. Or
okay.
PC is, I think it's PSVR 2 and PC. But it's meta next year.
Right.
Okay. So yeah.
It's been a good year for VR games. I feel like I need to spend more time in it, but just every time I turn my Quest on to download games, it's I'll download them and then just never go back to putting it on.
Yeah.
By the time it's charged.
I agree. And especially this has been such a busy period for me, at work and for press start bit. But I just feel getting home and just putting a headset on and just
it's hot as well at the moment.
I know. Yeah, it's 40 something degrees too. So if it was in a furnace in the game, it would be an added benefit. But yeah, it is definitely. I kind of get it. And sometimes you just want to play a game and not be fucking scared of it for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it. But and I felt that way about this. It took me a lot to get into this because I just wasn't in the mood most of the time. But once I actually stuck with was I'm gonna play it. I really enjoyed it. So. Yeah.
For me, space is an issue as well. If I want to play a VR game, I've got to push the sofa out of the way and lift the coffee table over into the corner.
I will quickly mention this works perfect if you are standing or sitting.
Okay.
You can. Yeah, so it just adjusts, and you can adjust, because the way that it works is so to grab your shotgun, you have to reach over your left shoulder, and then your rifle's on your right shoulder, right? So you can actually adjust the width of them and stuff. So if you've got really broad shoulders or small shoulders, you can kind of adjust to your body type and stuff. And it works fine sitting or standing. So if you have no space, it'll work.
You can still play it. Okay.
Did this justify your PSVR 2 purchase, knowing that it's half price at the moment?
I mean, what?
That's
what
so
do you mean?
brutal, Shannon.
Yeah. I think it's a fair question. I feel like you haven't played much. Well, none of us have really. I haven't really used mine a lot since launch.
Yeah, I don't think any game at this point can, personally. But I have really enjoyed Village and Resi 4 and this.
Yeah.
And
so
Beat
maybe when
Saber
part
once.
2 comes around,
Yeah,
it'll be complete.
Yeah. I want to. I do every time I play a VR game like this, where I'm super into it for a while. I'm why didn't I do this more? It always is a thing. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, yes, go grab one half price. Why not play Resi 4 again? Nothing. Play the Village House bit. That's the best fucking thing you'll ever play in VR. Yeah. But yeah.
My brother's overseas at the moment, and he has PSVR 2, and he's got that just kind of collecting dust to his place at the moment. So maybe I go and retrieve that and just put it to use to play this Alien game.
Absolutely, do it.
Scare myself silly. All right, let's keep cracking with today's news. I was going to ask you about Marvel Rivals as well. It was announced in the past day or so that Marvel Rivals has hit 20 million players. I myself am one of them. I've been playing it for the past week or so, and really enjoying it, actually. I found there's quite a learning curve to the characters, as I guess there always is, and not having played Overwatch for a good few years now. There was some refamiliarization with the sort of typical mechanics of that kind of style of hero shooter. But I'm all in now, watching TikToks of character guides, that kind of thing, to learn what different techniques as I can. Have either of you dived in? Are you eager to give it a go?
We did together, if my memory serves me correctly. I did have to think about that for a second, but yeah. Did we play? We did play it together, didn't we?
James is shaking his head. I don't know if it's because of your memory.
Why don't you believe yourself?
I don't know. It just doesn't feel like something we would do when I thought about it.
How did you go? Did you get some?
Well,
get some
I don't
Ws?
think Shannon liked it from memory.
No, it was like you said. It was the first like 5 players I picked characters. It was like none of them were gelling with me, and there are like 30, 40 characters.
Right.
Like it's a lot. And then I think I found like Captain America and 1 or 2 others, and was finding my groove a little bit more. But like there are characters where you would just die constantly and not really know what you're doing. Like there's a lot of abilities, I feel like, more than any other game that I can think of in terms of hero shooters. Like there's just a lot of different mechanics.
And I do feel like the kind of mapping of the abilities kind of a bit odd too. Like sometimes it's like an ability is mapped to a face button, and sometimes it's on the bumpers and
like
triggers
some are
and
passive,
that kind of thing,
or like some require another character. Like there's just a lot of intricacies to learn. Which is good. Like I think long term is a positive thing, but like. Yeah, I think it just takes a bit longer than some other games like Concord to find.
For those that like haven't jumped in yet, I would recommend like checking out some videos or like using the tutorial option in the game to like cycle through a couple of different characters and just get a feel for them before you jump into a match. Because I think it's kind of hard to learn the characters like in a game, and you'll probably hinder your enjoyment, I reckon, trying to kind of learn them on the fly. It's not to say you can't do it. I did to a certain extent, but I feel like I got much more out of the kind of characters, like just working through them at my own pace.
I think particularly because you don't really spawn into the action and you do move quite slowly, like it can feel like you're sort of running for 30 seconds, dying, spawning back. So I just think, I think the good thing is you can cycle through characters and sort of find someone that works for a little bit and get used to it. But I think it's obviously really solid, like for what's there for free. I can't think of another hero shooter that's come out this strong out of the gate and just been, except for Concord.
I think as well, it all working really well is also, I know this sounds like really basic stuff, but it just works very well. Like,
and I think the balance is really solid too, right? Like things like that go a long way.
I think in the first few weeks, no one was playing healers like at all, so that was like a bit frustrating. I felt.
I feel like that's not the case now. Like everyone.
No, I think people have definitely come around. Because my first week, because I've put in about 12 hours, I think now. So
I'm probably about the same.
So I think now definitely it feels like people are kind of discovering the characters a bit better. But that's the thing, right? With 33 characters, you have to learn everything that you can do, but you also have to kind of learn what other people like can do with other characters too.
And what to watch out for,
And literally. So I think like over time, like that will get better. I really like it. I didn't think I would. Like I fucking can't. I hate Marvel so much. The game itself is like really solid, and I know that it is aping a lot of shit from Overwatch, but it's doing it in a way that I don't know. Like it feels fresh enough. For it to get me in, like, I feel like I'm not, like, being a dickhead, but, like, I don't normally go for these games at all.
I think it definitely, takes a lot of elements from Overwatch, but then adds enough of its own stuff that it kind of offsets it. And I think it does a very good job of mapping what were, like, more Overwatch mechanics to a Marvel character. And in such a way it feels natural and it makes sense. So I think that gives it like a bit of leniency as well.
I think the monetization is like awful, but I get that. Like, that's how this works, right? But like $30 to $40 for skins is like wild to me. But
it's just the way of the world nowadays, though.
It's just
like
so
I'm
slick,
very
though. Like I think the way that it's produced and stuff, like, you know, how you're not even buying skins necessarily now. You're buying like animation intros and stuff for when you get an MVP. But yeah, it's good. I think it's really good. I think if they can keep it up, this is the thing we say about all these games, right? Is like if they can keep up the content, and I think they've got a really good opportunity here to have some good synergy with, like, say, when Fantastic Four comes out. You know, chuck them in, which I think is rumored heavily lately.
I think that's why. I hope they didn't go with too many characters first up, because they had that like announcement of like 6 to 8 in the launch week, and I feel like nobody was really saying, "Oh, we need more heroes." So, I hope they've paced themselves well.
There's heaps though, right? Like even Deadpool as an example. Like there's a lot of like big ones I think that are still not missing. But I like that it's a good mix of like oddballs as well as
Girl.
Yeah.
Jeff the Shark. Like
Jeff the Shark.
Like,
I reckon if they got like 2 or 3, well, maybe like 3 or 4 characters out a year, that's very good going. Like, I don't know if it needs much more than that. Like, it's got the battle pass kind of supporting it. There's heaps of like cosmetic options, new maps, modes, that kind of thing that they can introduce too. Like, I reckon, yeah, they got a good thing going here, and there's enough for them to work with to kind of sustain it. And based on the like interest levels so far, I think they're off to a really solid start too. But yeah, I guess it will be dependent on how many people do subscribe to battle passes and buy skins as well, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's off to a better start than Concord, that's for sure.
I mean, it was free. That helps, right? But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say as well, I do like the style of the characters. I think they're clever to like stay close to the look of the Marvel Cinematic Universe kind of characters, but do enough kind of different. And obviously it's like a more kind of comic booky kind of looking art style as well, that I think they can kind of do different things with the characters and not have to do them like one for one as they are in the movies, but just like near enough. So yeah, no, I'm really liking it. Eager to play some more. I'm really eager to play the Nintendo Switch 2 when it materializes as well, which surely can't be too far away given the amount of leaks that seem to be coming out on like a near daily basis at this point in time. This week has just been marred by more leaks kind of coming through third-party accessory manufacturers, D-Brand, kind of notably one of them, with the kind of announcement of their like Kill Switch kind of hard case for it, in which they kind of gave us the best look so far of what we imagine the Switch 2 will look like and dimensions, that kind of thing. Has anything in particular jumped out to you, Shannon, about some of the images and some of the facts of well, I say facts, but supposedly facts of the Switch at this point in time that are catching your eye?
Yeah, nothing is like hugely different to what we knew in terms of like larger screen, the magnetic Joy-Con, the Hall effect analog sticks. Like, it's all improvements that I'm super keen on. The most interesting thing that D-Brand kind of revealed and everyone else is sort of jumping on now is there's a new button on the right Joy-Con that's a C button that isn't a capture button, because that still exists. So people are like theorizing that it could be like Wii U type functionality, and the dock could wirelessly transmit to give you a second screen experience. So that, I think, obviously, again, every time we write this, people like, it looks like a Nintendo Switch, and it does look like a Nintendo Switch, but I think there's going to be some cool functionality stuff that we're starting to see come to life. And I think, yeah, hardware-wise, like, it's all stuff that I'm really keen on, and we've spoken about at length. But yeah, I think we're starting to get a look at some of the other stuff that, again, we don't have a full picture on, but I think there's going to be some cool little Nintendo gimmicky stuff from what we can see on this.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what that C button does. I must admit, like, the look of the Joy-Cons, they just look kind of similar in shape and kind of form factor, I guess, to the previous ones, which doesn't thrill
they're bigger,
me.
I think, which, like, I don't know if it's like the best. I don't think it's like a Wii.
But still, I mean, I think my biggest
but
problem with them is like the sticks are like that close to the edge of it that like you just kind of got your thumbs up against your palms. It's just never sat comfortably in my hands, but then so few handhelds
that's
do.
Fair.
I don't know. Like, I would be immediately trying to connect my Game Sir controller, I think, to this. So I feel like I've got a bit of a meatier grasp
There
on
are
the thing. But
not so much in the leaks, but there are rumors that this could come with like a Pro controller as well, which I think could be a good fit. Like, for if Metroid is a launch title or whatever, like, I think there might be a situation where this might have more third-party support, and they might just want to give people a controller in the box as well. So that'll be interesting.
What about yourself, James? Are you liking the look of what you're seeing so far? I know we've discussed the leaks at length, but this is kind of our best glimpse of it so far, right?
Yeah. I just want to see it now. Like, I'm so over it. Yeah, I'm obviously also very intrigued by the big C button, but yeah, who knows what it does at this point. Yeah. So I don't use my Switch handheld, so like it's none of the concerns I think you've got, Ewan, is of concern to me personally. But I didn't know that. I didn't actually know. I haven't been keeping up. I didn't know they were Hall effect sticks, which are like the hot thing at the moment. So
I was talking to
it's
my
cool
mum
that they're
about it
doing
today, funnily enough, and she's like, whatever they do, can they just make sure that, like, the stick drift isn't an issue? She's so over
I
it
mean,
on
I
the
don't
obviously-
Joy-Cons.
I don't think I've ever experienced stick drift on anything. So like whenever people are
Neither.
talking about it on
I don't
Joy-Cons or like
understand it.
DualSense
I don't-
or anything, I'm
Yeah.
like, what are you doing with your controller?
What are you all
I
doing
don't-
to your controllers?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't.
Like,
But,
is,
obviously,
stick
it is
drift
a
is when
thing.
it just moves on its own, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
touch
it's
it
like-
and it kind of drifts ever so
Yeah.
slowly.
It's
Yeah,
bad. It's
interesting.
bad for all controllers. But apparently it was especially bad for Switch. Which obviously there was like a court case in America, so it doesn't surprise me that they're making them Hall effect in this console.
I mean, I feel like it's kind of the minimum of what needs to be.
But do you know? But
controller.
the other thing I think a lot of people maybe aren't thinking about is if they are Hall effect, they are more expensive. So I feel like Joy-Cons
Yeah.
will be more expensive
Yeah.
this gen.
You can't have
especially.
your cake and eat it too.
No, you
people.
can't.
Remember that.
God does not
But,
give with both
um,
hands.
I really hope the C button is like a Wii U like functionality. Like I love the Wii U and I love that second screen. And like I just think when you think of like DS and 3DS Virtual Console, they're gonna need a second screen. I think where it gets murky is that it does maybe get confusing for people, but I do really I would love that concept if that is what it is. So it'll be interesting.
I don't
So
know.
would that be like a cast? Is that how you see it working?
Connect.
Like,
Yeah.
Connect, yeah.
I think if you press the seated mirror and if you pressed it like you were in your living room or whatever, you could it'd change to a second screen type situation where you could have the gamepad and it'd be casting wirelessly to the dock. I think like the Wii U did. Like if you're in your house and connected over Wi-Fi or like some kind of low bandwidth, like the Portal, but I think Nintendo would be smarter than PlayStation about it and it wouldn't use your Wi-Fi.
I think that would be a cool idea, and I like the idea of using like extra power to like do things like that in the game rather than just up the res, right? Like I feel like that is also something Nintendo could do. But
Well, I feel like
Yeah,
I don't think it's just going to be like a 4K machine. I think Nintendo will want some kind of feature that is like will
I
give
agree.
new gameplay experiences. Otherwise, it's literally just going to be the Switch.
yeah, I don't think they'll be content with just like a more powerful Switch. They'll
No.
want to introduce some different features to it as well, I'm sure. Yeah.
It's exciting.
Eager to
I
see
feel like
how it
it's gonna
materializes.
it's going to be January. I think it has to be January at this point, and I think it's going to be like mid to late January. I just
just
don't
to
think they can leave
clarify,
it
you
any
mean
later.
the reveal?
I do wish
right?
they had
The
announced it
reveal,
already,
yeah.
so they were ahead of these like manufacturer leaks. Because like as soon as they send specs to third-party manufacturers to make accessories for it, the leaks are going to start happening, right? And it would have been good for them
Well,
to
they
get
have.
ahead of that, but yeah.
We'll all
Anyhow,
be excited again when it rolls around. We know that.
we will. Careful making bold predictions like that, though, Shannon, because they might come back to bite you. I'm curious to look back at the start of the year in our 2024 predictions and see how many we got right. So I think it was the first episode of the year this year. We kind of made some predictions of what was going to unfold, and I kept a record of everything that we said. So I did send you guys the doc. Feel free to look through it as well. But I will remind you all of what we predicted. Shannon, your first prediction that the PS5 Pro will launch, you get a half point for that, I think. Where you're going to lose points is the Ape Escape was sadly not a launch title.
If
but maybe you
Astrobot
didn't-
was a launch title, I would have claimed that as a full point.
But I reckon like 50% is pretty good going there. The PS5 Pro coming out. Your second prediction, though, the Switch successor will have some kind of new gimmicky accessory bonus, a second screen. I mean,
I like it.
No.
I mean, it hasn't happened, but I like it for next year. I'm going to carry it over.
yeah, I think it's probably a 0 for this year, given that it didn't come out or was announced. But yeah, maybe next year that will change.
That's Nintendo's fault.
And then you had Grand Theft Auto 6 will be announced for the Nintendo Switch successor for the launch of that console, which, hey, maybe next year.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm still very confident in both of them, and I'm not taking that as a loss. You can mark me 0, but neither are wrong.
So of your 3 predictions there, I think you've come away with half a point, which is probably not bad given our past history with these. James, can you remember what any of your predictions were?
Yeah, I've already had one thrown in my face today by Shannon.
Your first
Sorry.
prediction I've got written down. I've actually got 4 predictions against you. Maybe we all kind of provided a different amount, and I've got 5 against me. So, hey, we're playing fast and loose here. Your first one was the Switch 2 will be a safer upgrade sooner than we think. And to be honest, I feel like I wish I'd put more details down for that sort of prediction because I don't quite know what to do with that.
What I obviously meant is that, like I said to Shannon today, sooner than we think, as in we would see it through an accessory manufacturer instead of through Nintendo before the reveal. So I reckon that's a point.
I don't know. What do you reckon, Shannon? I'm not...
No, it's a
It's
0.
absolutely not. It's so funny to me that we were like so confident it was coming this year and it still hasn't even been announced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we needed an announcement, like, and release date for that prediction to land. I'm sorry, James. Number 2, though, you had PlayStation will reissue at least 3 games to show off the power of the PlayStation 5 Pro. I need to do some counting here. Do we have 3?
I don't think they reissued anything, so I think that's another 0.
No, shut up. So they had Until Dawn, like that came and went very quickly.
Was that
but
for the Pro though? No. Does it have a Pro?
It was obviously that was what they wanted. They didn't say it, but it was clear that was what their intention was. Same with Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. So that's 2. There's got to be a 3rd. The year is still young. There's like 10 days to announce another remaster.
We needed Ape
of Last of
Escape,
Us.
and then we both would have won.
Yeah. Well,
I might have
get
paid
half a
Lego
point for
Adventures, the Horizon Adventures, but I don't think that had a PS5 Pro mode, right?
It's not. That's not a reissue either. So that's not. No.
Yeah.
I reckon that's half a point though.
I could maybe pay half a point, Shannon. What do you think?
Sure.
Okay. he's
Although,
got half
am
a
I going to
point for that
win
one.
with my half a point? Because if I am, then no.
Maybe we need to have a tiebreaker between the two of you. Prediction number 3 was we'll see the new Bioshock, but won't get a date. I don't think we saw it all year, right?
No.
No.
We saw a screenshot, so I reckon. Oh, I said date though, didn't
And
I?
I feel like he's
We won't
forced
get
to
a
be-
date, you said.
Should be minus half a point for being so wrong.
Oh,
And he
Konami's
proved
return will
himself
be
wrong.
critically unsuccessful. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I could directly contributed to that
Yeah,
being wrong.
exactly.
Yeah. You ensured that prediction did not come correct.
Yeah, well.
Oh
well.
So my predictions then. Prediction number 1 was Ghost of Tsushima 2 will get announced, half a point. With a release date later this year bonus, it will have a performance boost for the PS5 Pro. I reckon at half a point. We saw it get announced, but I was definitely way off the mark
that's
with
a
the latter
quarter.
part. A quarter? The brackets was a bonus bit. That's...
Yeah, well.
More details for Kojima's OD will emerge this year. Will be an episodic series of experiential games made in collaboration with Kojima's favorite horror directors. We didn't get anything.
I wish that was true.
I know.
Yeah. No.
I thought Game Awards for sure he's going to come out and say more about OD, but
He's been so
alas.
quiet.
Yeah. Indiana Jones will come out later this year and be a third-person shooter. I mean, it came out later this year, so half a point.
We need to
Was not
stop
a
doing
third-person
two-part.
shooter, though.
Next year, we're not doing 2-part predictions.
I also had Alan Wake 2 will get a physical edition later this year, coinciding with the first DLC drop. It's technically it was the second DLC drop, right?
It was.
Yeah.
But that's half. All these halves.
Yeah. I mean, I also don't know why I've got 5 predictions
Yeah.
here when everyone else has got.
Yeah, I was going to say, he predicts everything. We'll eventually get a point.
But the 5th one doesn't matter anyway. The Nintendo Switch 2 will be released by the end of November, and Mario Odyssey 2 will be a launch title. Whoop womp. Big ol' 0. I guess that means I won with the predictions then? Is that what I'm seeing here?
Yeah. Looking
3
at
half
Brody's,
points, 1.5
he was a
points.
big fat 0.
What
True.
were Brody's?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Brody couldn't join us for last show of the year, but his predictions were of the first parties, Xbox will land the highest Metacritic over PlayStation and Nintendo. I'm just going to assume that's incorrect. Ubisoft will find a new parent company. Didn't happen neither. And Microsoft will announce a new mobile client to harness King's catalog, a better storefront of sorts. They probably should have done that, but they did not.
I think Brody's Ubisoft one was actually... that's like seconds away from happening, I swear. Like,
any day now.
But, yeah.
Yeah, okay, maybe he comes
today.
through with the sweep. Maybe.
And I think maybe Xbox, he might be on top because of the sheer no volume that they've... Like, it's 2 games. They might.
I think Astrobot's
What
a
came
94.
out?
There's
Yeah.
nothing above that Xbox.
And Final Fantasy would fall under PlayStation as well, right?
Okay, well, I take it back. I tried.
Yeah.
Hang on, I've got... This is
You're
2024.
right, they had
I'm
more
looking it up.
chances, but unfortunately...
Actually, no, Flight Sim, that will drop it. It's all good. Let's move on.
Do you know... I mean, according to Metacritic, the publisher with the best score this year, James? Capcom.
It always is.
Average
Like,
Metascore of 84.5.
Whether the Metacritic says it or not, they'll always be on top. There's no one better.
Nintendo apparently was the highest of the big 3 with 79.5. They're in 6th place. Bethesda coming in higher than the others. Sony 13th with an average of 77.6. The best game. Oh, no, hang on.
There were just so many games that dropped them a bit.
Microsoft was,
I think, for all of them.
behind. You know how they've done this? They've actually scored it by total points, I think, rather than average. So actually, Xbox would be above PlayStation according to the average.
But above Nintendo?
No, not above Nintendo. Not far off though.
Close, Bree. Very close.
Yeah, it's actually 1 percentage point in it on the average.
Next
Very
year.
close.
Next year's their year, as you say.
All right, let's finish the show with one final fun topic, and that is our personal game of the year list. Now, if you're familiar with how we've done this in the past, Press Start does do its own official Game of the Year awards, in which everyone on the writing staff all contributes. So that's kind of more of our official Game of the Year list. But I wanted, seeing it's the final show of the year, to check in with the two of you. And we'll pick 10 games for the total Press Start ones, but maybe we just discuss our top 5 today. I'm curious to hear what you've settled on, maybe argue with you a little bit as well. James, I know you were still humming and hawing about what your top 5 were prior to us recording, but do you have a clearer picture in your mind what those 5 are now? Do you want to start with number 5 and work your way back up? He's not decided. He's still thinking. He's deep in thought.
No, let's go.
He's pulling up a spreadsheet by the looks of things.
Just go with whatever you feel is right in your heart.
What I feel is right, and what happened isn't. No. I'm just going to honorably mention really quickly.
Okay.
Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden.
That wasn't in your top 5?
No, but I've played I've played 35 to 40 games this year, so it's been a big James year. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
Banishers,
also played about 30 games that came out this year.
I've got a feeling Banishers. Yeah, I've got a feeling Banishers might be in my official top 5, but it's very close behind for me. So just I'm assuming are you going to speak about that later? I won't talk about it too much.
Don't you worry. Yeah.
So I'll weigh in there. But for me, at the moment, Slitterhead is my number 5. But
very James game.
So it is a very James game. It's absolutely my shit. It's weird. It's wacky. It's wonderful. Lots of W's. It's wanky. But it's just a really, really good action horror game. It is admittedly mechanically quite rough. I guess it is an indie game after all. But as somebody who just absolutely loved the time loop shit and Gravity Rush and the Siren games, I just feel like this felt like Toyama's what's the word? Like it plays like really great homage to all of his older games as a director. So like I really really like Slitterhead. I think it's really cool. I hope it becomes something more. I would love to see what they could do with the bigger budget. But for now, yeah, it was just a real surprise for me. How much I enjoyed it. So that's my number 5.
Nice. Good pick. Probably a game that's like not hard enough like love this year, I guess, in your eyes.
I agree. But I also understand why. Like it's absolutely not for everyone. So
yeah.
Yep.
All right, what about number 4? Or do you want to go around and start? We can do that. That'd be fun. Yeah. My number 5. I feel like I'm going to lose people right off the bat, but my number 5 is No Rest for the Wicked. Controversial in that it's an early access release. But my reason for keeping it in there was that I just felt like there was kind of ample enough content in there out the gate, and it was very polished. And like I felt playing, like you had a good sort of feeling of what the rest of the game was gonna look like. So yeah, I mean, I guess this will have like a proper release like in the next year or two. But it was one of the games I had the most fun playing this year. I'm not typically kind of gravitating towards those kind of like Souls-like sort of games with the sort of punishing sort of like combat that this game has. But I think it really translated well into that sort of isometric view. I loved the art style. It was a really cool kind of world that they had going as well. And yeah, it's just kind of a game I've kept coming back to throughout the year to play more of. And I can see myself like playing for years to come as well, as kind of more and more content's added to it as well. So yeah, No Rest for the Wicked. Big fan. Shannon, what's your number 5?
Nice. I will start off by saying this year I didn't play as many games as I normally would going through my Wrapped. I was quite mortified at how low the hours were on a lot of these platforms, but I kind of just went with the games that I genuinely enjoyed and like I stuck with this year over those that I kind of saw potential in but maybe lost me instantly. My number 5 was Paper Mario and the 1,000-Year Door, which the GameCube was kind of a blind spot for me. I picked it up really late when it was like $100 in Australia, and didn't play many of the games. So like this was one I was super keen on. And unlike some other Mario RPGs, like it just doesn't have any filler at the start, and it's just good from the get-go. So yeah, spent a lot of nights in bed playing this, and it was just genuinely like great. The story, the characters, the battle system, really fantastic game, and I can see why it's so loved among RPG lovers and Mario fans, and that is why it was in my 5th spot.
It was in my top 10.
Nice.
I have no nostalgia for either, and I played it to review it, obviously, and yeah, really good. Like I 100%ed it completely out of my own volition, like no achievements pushing me to do it or anything like that. So I think that says something. Yeah, really, really good. Amazing game. Really, really clever.
What's your number 4, James?
Let me just tab back over. We will probably talk about this later, but Astrobot.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that later.
A lot of my games were ones that I didn't review, so maybe that says something. But I really enjoyed Astrobot. I was not expecting much from it, given that the last 2 games were good, but like they really were a bit tech demo-y. But then obviously playing it is just a joy from beginning to end. Very like Mario Odyssey-esque, where there is like one mechanic in each level and they're used really well, and then when they're repeated, if they are, like it's done in a clever way. So it was just a really cool thing to be able to see what you can do in a Nintendo-like game with the power of hardware like the PS4 affords them, right? Like just with the physics and all of that kind of stuff. And I feel like it's just things I just think they did a really, really, really good job. Astrobot will appear in mine. But I just love the attention to detail in the game. Like, I just love that you could kind of interact with or like kind of play with like literally everything in the level. And I'd love you'd kind of get to some points of the map that just had like piles and piles of like
balls or like snow or like confetti or leaves or whatever, and you could just like spin through it and it'd fly everywhere. And it was just, there was always around, like in every little corner of each level, something to kind of hit and like react to. And even like at the crash site, all of the characters there, and like, yes, it's a big kind of nostalgia play for PlayStation that resonates with me particularly, like having grown up with PlayStation. But like all of those characters there, the fact that you can kind of get their own little accessory and then interact with them, and it does a little moment. It was just all of that kind of attention to detail. I thought was just like,
I think
clearly it was so much kind of passion and appreciation for everything they included in the game. It really kind of shone through. I think really deserving of the kind of, it won Best Direction at the Game Awards, right? I'm not confusing that with something else, but I think that was entirely deserved. It was just very great, complete package. Fantastic game. Number 4 for me, though, was Helldivers 2. Loved Helldivers 2. It's a game that had like a big moment when it came out, and I spent countless hours with it then. Granted, I'm not kind of stuck with it in the same way. I think it did take a little while for the kind of content drop that we've just had in the last kind of week or so to land. I probably would have appreciated that sooner. But just like a game with such a fun sort of tone, endless kind of replayability. I loved like how challenging it got to, but just like the kind of circumstantial moments that would kind of arise in a match playing with your friends when someone accidentally blows each other up just made some of my funniest kind of gaming moments of the year. And yeah, just had a really great time with this game in the month that it came out. Shannon?
Yes, I will be honest. Within my 10, a lot of the games could have shuffled around, like bar 2 or 3.
Say this before every game?
I feel like
he's already like,
to you.
Maybe.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know why I put this in 4th. But I was under the pressure from the Master Brody. And honestly, looking at these, they could have all gone anywhere in the 10 this year. But number 4 for me was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which
Nice.
I enjoyed. I do think it was like probably the fact that I had just played it, and like the fact that like we wanted this to be great for Xbox. Like I'm a massive Uncharted fan. It's one of my favorite franchises.
Yeah.
And I do feel like this was like the type of game that I really like and crave in terms of a focused single player action adventure game. I think it had issues, which we've spoken about, but yeah, I think it's hard not to enjoy it. Is it the 4th best game of the year? Apparently it is. But yeah, look, I think it could be improved on, and it will be improved on, but I think it's a good game for what it is. And again, coming back to just thinking, not overthinking it, and like, what did I enjoy? What did I actually want to come back to every day?
Yeah.
What did I not fall off of? Like, this was one of those games that I didn't play for an hour and then not come back to. Like, it is good.
I'm still playing Indiana Jones. I'm maybe only about like midway through it, but I'm loving it so far. And even like, I know talking to Brody about his review back on that episode, like he was kind of talking about the combat maybe becoming a bit repetitive over time and kind of not doing enough, but I can't say I'm having that at all. Like I'm quite enjoying the kind of like nature of like, okay, what weapon is within reach, and hit this guy over the head with it and then scramble back into stealth mode over here. I'm really enjoying it. I think the puzzle solving is great. I love the locations. I'm a big Indiana Jones fan and just like a big history nut. So to kind of like poke around the Vatican City or like the pyramids of Giza and kind of live out this kind of tomb hunting fantasy, like I think it's great. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the story and the characters and the performances, and I'm eager to play more of it. I feel like that given more time with it, maybe it could crack my 10, but it hasn't as of yet. Although, like we did talk about it before the show, but like eligibility for the Game Awards, it would fall into next year, right? Because it came out after November 22nd.
For the Game Awards, yeah, but I guess because ours doesn't kick off until the 20th.
No,
realistically, it's probably not going to make either next year. So give it a chance. You'll have to see how it shakes out.
I guess it's up for some top competition, but I do hope it gets a nod. I think
I'm halfway through it and I'm really liking it. I think it's very slow at the beginning, though. Like, I really struggled to kind of get into it, but once I hit that point, have been really enjoying it. So,
yeah. I think it like does feel like a little bit kind of clunky as well. I think like some of the kind of platforming stuff. Like once you get a feel for it, I think it's fine, but I don't think it made a great first impression in that regard. Cool. Where are we up to, James? Number 3? Is that where we're at?
Number 3 for me is... okay. So number 3 for me is Silent Hill 2. So
nice.
This one, obviously, a big Silent Hill fan. Incredibly... I don't know if this is just a case of lowered expectations or not, but obviously the trailers just weren't doing it for me. I didn't... I just wasn't vibing. I didn't think they could really capture that lightning in a bottle that they did with the original game in terms of the performances and all of that. And then it was double the length, and I don't know, there was just so much things I was like, oh, this just sounds awful. But then got to play it, and it is incredible. Like, I almost... Yeah. I think it's just a really... Sorry, what was that?
It blew you away. I remember you being quite amazed at how good it was pre-launch.
Yes, it was exciting. It was exciting because I would be up to the point in the normal game where I had finished it and I'd only done like a third of it. And I was like, wow, this is like already so good. Like, can they kind of extend it anymore? And they did. Like, I think the performances, I still feel like this is a little bit controversial to say, but I do feel like the James and Marie performances are actually better than the original game. Which I think a lot of like really diehard fans would be angry about, but I think it's a really, really good remake. It stands like next to the original, and you can go back and play the original if you want, right? But I don't know. I really liked it. The sound design is incredible. I didn't think Silent Hill 2 could ever scare me. Like, the second game never really scared me. I was always like, I found it interesting and tense, but not scary. But that prison scene, like the whole prison in like as an example in the remake, is just nuts. Like, they do a really good job with sound, and sound design, and that's like one of the games I think really got robbed at the Game Awards, especially for sound. I think Silent Hill 2 was just so good in a lot of aspects, and I think Blue Bar really deserves a big commendation for that. I think there was just so much against them, and it is a big project. Remaking a game with so much reverence, like in the community, but then it came out on top, and it was really good. And I'm officially on board for whatever they do next. I always kind of was, to be fair, but I would always expect like a 5 or a 6 out of 10, usually. But like Kronos as an example, you can kind of see there is a little bit of, they're obviously sharing some really cool tech between the teams there. So
yeah,
I think for Kronos, which will probably be the next game, I'm very excited to see what they do next.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that too. Silent Hill is an honorable mention for me. But yeah, like for all the reasons that you said and more, James, like, yeah, I'm really loving the game. I'm yet to finish it, I should stress. I'm actually surprised at just like how lengthy it is. And I'm playing it in short bursts because, yeah, I'm finding it a lot. But yeah, really great game. And it's kind of kept me quite hooked to like all the kind of twists and turns throughout as well. But I'm coming at it with like no experience with Silent Hill before.
I think it's good you don't have that. And like it's one of the most known, like that and the Final Fantasy twist. Like, I feel like they're very big, good, well-known twists in games. So if you don't know them still, that's really good.
Yeah, somehow avoided them.
I don't know it.
Yeah, number 3 for me. Here, I'm going to have to check my notes now, actually. What was number 3 again? It was Banishes, Ghost of New Eden. Which, yeah, James, I kind of played based on your recommendation. And it was, yeah, very much a good shout. Like, it's kind of got that God of War like style sort of combat and level design, which was immediately like a big tick in my book. But it couples that with just like really great kind of novel storytelling, fantastic couple of characters, like a real like actual kind of moral dilemma presented to you in terms of the decision making you get, and just fantastic side missions throughout the game as well that, yeah, really like seeking out all those additional haunts that you can do is highly worthwhile, not just for the way that it contributes into the main story and the kind of different outcomes that you can get at the end of the game, which kind of floored me getting the ending that I did. It was not the ending I intended or sought out to get, but I'm actually really pleased that it did end the way it did, because it kind of just made my jaw hit the floor. But yeah, those side missions, those hauntings, like the really amazing kind of contained kind of maybe like 1 to 3 hour kind of stories in of themselves. I think what this game's blessing and curse is just the amount of content in there. Like, it is a sizable game that when it clicks with you is amazing, because there's so much to go out and do. But yeah, for those trying to like connect with the game, I think it maybe just takes a little bit kind of to get going, and maybe the size of it kind of intimidates people away from it. But I sort of feel like this is gonna be the game that kind of finds an audience and finds some appreciation kind of over time, which is unfortunately I think going to be kind of too late for us to sort of see more Banishes, because it's already been pretty clear that it was not the commercial success that I wanted. But just a heck of a game. And we've already talked before about like the performances in it not getting the recognition that they deserved. But yeah, I'd forgotten the names of the two leads now. But
Red and Taya.
Like, fantastic performances. Red and Taya, yeah, sorry, I meant the voice actors.
Oh, the actors, yeah.
But yeah, so good. So yeah, Banishes.
I think,
yeah, for me.
Really quickly, like, I think it was really cool how it takes kind of that. I feel like when we first played Life is Strange, right, which is the game that put Don't Nod on the map, and though that game was like riddled with choices that were like pretty tough, and it's really cool to see them kind of evolve that formula to a completely different game. Like, obviously, it's so different to anything they've done before. Probably closer to Vampire a bit, but. Yeah, a really good underrated game. I really recommend it. I think it's on sale everywhere now for really cheap.
Yeah,
but
and it feels like
give it a shot.
Properly AAA as well.
Yeah, it does. Like, very big budget.
Yeah, like yeah. If you're a God of War fan, like, play this game. I think you'll have enough enjoyment with the kind of combat of it, which I think people have like unfairly criticized the combat in the game. Like, it might not be as kind of flashy or have quite the same depths of God of War, but mechanically it feels very much the same. And some of the boss fights get like intense. But yeah, I think like switching between the two, I don't want to say too much, but like switching between the two characters and the different abilities you're going to get over time is great. I do think it takes a little bit long to get some of those new abilities. It's maybe drawn out a little bit by the length of the game. But yeah, like, play the game. 100%. Shannon, number 3 for you?
Number 3, should I go on an intro again and think of something to say?
Just stress.
Can you remind us?
Yeah. I'm really not confident in my list, guys.
Well, the Steam Deck finally came to Australia this year, and this was a game that I played primarily on that. It was Animal
I thought you were about to give
which,
the Steam Deck number 3.
Yeah.
So was I was like,
it's number 1. Valve, finally. Animal Well was my number 3. I really enjoyed playing that on the Steam Deck. It obviously looked really great on that OLED screen, because it is primarily quite dark and moody. And yeah, super simple game. I think it's like 10 kilobytes or something in size. With it's just like the opposite of everything that AAA gaming is. Haven't finished it, but it is really fun and moody. And yeah, Metroidvanias either hit for me or they don't. I know that James is a big fan of them, but like, it's like either too convoluted and like you get lost too often, which isn't for me. But this kind of really struck a really nice balance of like puzzles and abilities and finding your way, and it not being not spending too much time backtracking or getting lost. So yeah, it was a great game. I feel like it's not one that a lot of people played either, so I highly recommend. It's on everything now except Xbox, or is it on Xbox too?
It's on Xbox.
Everything. It's on everything. So I think it's a good one to play over the holidays if you hadn't. It's really enjoyable.
And it shouldn't take, I mean, it depends, but it needn't take too long to get through. Like, I think I probably spent longer with it than most did. I think it really fucked up my PlayStation game clock, because I must have left it on pause or something. But yeah, it is like, I feel like a good game to play over the summer, right? Because it might kind of take you kind of 10, 12 hours to get through tops. Just a fantastic design in the game. Like, I just love how kind of each room or like each area you kind of enter, like, it doesn't really hold your hand at all. It just lets you kind of figure out what you can do and how you can interact in the world kind of at your own pace.
The moments like with the big animals, like wherever you come across something, is just super cool.
Yeah,
you should
stressful
really
as well.
Play.
Yeah,
it's you should play Super Metroid if you like this game. It's very much the same, like just this very isolated, kind of just find your own way.
When you play
I
Escape,
love
I'll play Super Metroid.
Oh well, I've set my terms out. Just,
I did start playing Super Metroid after Animal World based on that recommendation. I did inevitably get distracted, but I did play a good chunk of it afterwards.
Animal World was in my 10. I think it's great. The atmosphere and the
Likewise.
art, it's just incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just a real like technical design achievement based on the size of the game as well. To your point, Shannon.
Yeah,
very smart.
Yeah.
Number 2, Jumzy.
Get to the pointy end.
So for me, very pointy end. Dragon Age: The Veil Guard is my number 2.
10 out of 10.
I loved the game. I obviously did not get too hung up on what it wasn't. I just accepted it for what it was. I thought it was a really, really fun Dragon Age game. Like, I thought it was better than... It did so much better than 2 and Inquisition. I'm still not sure if I like it better than 1 or not, but I do think it is one of the stronger games in the series. Sure, it's definitely PG-13 compared to the other games, but I've never played the Dragon Age games for that kind of element, so it just hit all the right marks for me, right? Like, it just felt like another romp through Thedas that was fun with cool companions and a very Mass Effect 2 flavored as well. So, and that finale is like some of the best that BioWare's ever done. And I think that even people who don't like the game as much still feel that way about the finale. And I can totally see why. And it just excites me that the team who did that finale especially are the people who are making Mass Effect 5. So, like really, really excited for it. I kind of wish it got a bit more recognition anywhere.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a really fun action RPG, and I just started playing it and it did not stop. Just
admittedly
80 hours into it.
Outside of my 10, but I think it still gets a bit of an honorable mention in my mind. I've only kind of dipped my toes in it so far. You don't have to do
like the sympathy honorable mentions, Ewan. You can just leave it and say it's not my 10.
I feel like when I spend more time with the game, my attitude towards it could shift. But yeah, based on what I have played so far, I've really enjoyed it. I think like the combat mechanics great, and I love the way you kind of interact with your companions as well. And I think like the art direction of the game is super strong. I'm really enjoying it too, and enjoying the narrative as well, but just haven't quite spent enough time with it. I don't think it's not grabbed the hooks in me quite as much as like say Indie has. Like Indie's kind of the game I'm going back to at the moment and prioritizing. You what?
You said grabbed the hooks in you. So the hooks already there.
Grapple the hooks.
Is that how it works with
you? Good number 2 though.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Astrobot, which we've covered off. But yeah, obviously loved the game, and it was just pipped to the post by another one I'll reveal in a moment. But Shannon, what was your number 2?
My number 2 was a game that I really loved. I can't remember why I even played it. I remember playing it on the A&E flip that I've got. And it was and I've played it on Xbox as well. Another Crab's Treasure, which I really, really loved. I thought it was a great take on a Souls-like, just totally different, really clever with its shell mechanic. I love the accessibility options that you could sort of turn off and on so you didn't lose all of your... I don't know what they're called in the game, but...
Microplastics.
Or like you could just grab a giant gun if there was something you couldn't get through, but equally was still super difficult. But I don't know, I can't remember what that team had done, if they'd done anything, but again, I think fantastic game. It's on Game Pass if you haven't played it. And really, to me, again, I'm sure if I played every AAA game, it probably wouldn't be the second best game of the year. But when I think of what I actually enjoyed and stood out to me as being unique, and something that I'd never played before, Another Crab's Treasure was up there for me as a really memorable experience that I won't forget anytime soon.
Just like a novel twist on the genre that I think does, to your point, does some great things on accessibility that hasn't really kind of... It's a bit of a sore spot, I guess, for that style of game.
But it's like, it doesn't impact... If you want to play it like that, it doesn't... You can do that. But if you want to turn it off and on, like, it shows that it can be done without impacting the core.
I'm very supportive of it, don't get me wrong. I think it's great that it's pioneered that. Yeah.
I think it's very clever, the things that it does.
is.
And the environmentalist message is really cool. I'm actually surprised it didn't get nominated for Games for Impact at all because of the tone and the message of it.
Yeah.
But I liked it. It was in my top 10 for a while, I should say. But then a lot of really good games came along. So, yeah.
Well, what came in at number 1 then for you, James?
So this one like swooped in at the end of the year because I had to stop playing it to play Dragon Age, and then I went back to it. It was a Metaphor.
Ah, of course.
Yeah. So I like Persona, but I am very sick of them. So I was a little bit like, I guess, concerned about playing another game from them. But the world is just really it's just a really cool world. Like, a really very cool, like, politically charged world with these really great conflicts. A really cool bad guy who stays the bad guy the whole game. Like, it's not like... I feel like Persona games have a real habit of, like, at the end being like, now you have to fight this celestial god being shit. Like, it's just like, it becomes like so excessive, but this is just really, really cool. I had not a lot bad to say, nothing bad to say about it, to be honest. I just really enjoyed it from beginning to end, and I think it's an exciting kind of prospect to see what they can do next. I don't know if I want another one or not, but really cool game. I really recommend it, especially if you're kind of tired, like, you like RPGs but you don't really like the the high schooliness of the Persona games. Even like all of the not the romances but the subplots with all the companions and stuff, they are all quite good and very mature for an Atlas game. So
it's turn-based, isn't it?
It is, but it's very fast. You don't feel it. Like, it's... I promise you...
Like, with any cool mechanics or, like, timing, or just purely...
It's just so cool in so many ways. You just got to play it.
I don't think there's any way around
it's
that
not.
for me.
Yeah.
Just play it, man. You two are, like, so annoying with your turn-based shit. My chair's falling apart. But
it's just Borzo.
It's not Borzo. Like,
I think Shannon and I are a little, like, attention...
Yeah, you're a lot of deficient in a lot of things.
Deficient, that's the word I was trying to say. Thank you. I downloaded the demo and like I started it up and I'm like, okay, this is cool. Love the kind of art style as well. And then the second I like took control of the character and just had to like kind of run through the world, I was like, ugh.
What do you mean?
Where's the pace gone?
You cannot talk about pace, mister. You love some of the most poorly paced games ever made.
Maybe fair.
No, I don't know. There really is just... That world is just so cool. And it's
I do want to revisit it.
Like, touring the country to become the king, like, through, like, an election. And it's, like, such a... I don't know, like, it's such a cool idea. I'm going to just keep saying the same thing over and over again until we move on.
It's cool.
It's really cool. It's just... I just think it's neat, like the Marge Simpson potato, but it's a metaphor. I couldn't find much wrong with it at all. I think if I'd reviewed it, I probably would have given it a 10. Well,
I do want to revisit it and... hope that it kind of
even Brody likes it, and Brody never likes this shit. So I feel like that's a big seal of approval, right? I don't know.
It's just like I actually played a lot of Persona on my Vita back in the day, and I quite liked that. And so I was kind of expecting this to land at the same time, but I reckon it might have just been kind of circumstantial. I just wasn't quite in the mood for it at the time that I gave it a go, and there were other things that I felt a hankering to play, but.
Yeah,
I love the whole
But
kind of
Ewan-
medieval like element to it. That's
exactly.
That's my jam.
It's like set in like kind of the UK, kind of, and you love the UK. So like,
I'm just
play it.
watching gameplay now, and it's just a lot of reading. Like, I'll go to a book
Can you
if I want to.
fucking... Okay.
Like,
Well,
it's no Zen
let's hear
Zone
what your
Zero.
number one is, Shani. It's probably
I'm
like
with
top
you,
spin.
Shannon. Like, let's get it moving. You know, let's go.
okay.
Let's go.
You two really, yeah, it's alright.
Ewan, what was
Not
your?
really
I don't know.
personal.
I can't even pick. Oh, I can fucking pick. What was your number one?
Prince
Go
of
for
Persia: The Lost
Yes.
Crown. What a game! I honestly like, and the game that pulled me back in the Switch. That's where I played it as well. But man, I could not look more forward to my laundry days. Sat outside of the laundromat playing Prince of Persia on my Switch. So good. And like a challenging game at times as well. And I usually that kind of would put me off as well. Like I like the pace. I want to move through it, make it quick and snappy, you know. But when I encountered bosses in this game that I was kind of felt like I was hitting a wall with, I just the kind of tightness of the mechanics. I always felt like I kind of knew what I had done wrong and was trying to kind of push myself to like get the parry perfect, that kind of thing. Really loved it. Loved the story as well. Some fantastic sort of art direction in the game too that I think went a little underappreciated. And yeah, just like cemented just how much I love a Metroidvania. And I think if it weren't for Prince of Persia and like kicking off that sort of Metroidvania kick earlier in the year, I probably wouldn't have gotten the same out of Animal Well later on, or like given Super Metroid that shot too. So yeah, really just a special game. And I'm disappointed again. Like 2 of my top 3 were not commercial successes. And the team sadly like no longer working on Prince of Persia games, which is just really disappointing. Like the DLC that got added to this game too, I just beat that recently as well, and that was fantastic and added kind of new novel elements to it. The platforming I thought was really great and like just as kind of challenging, but in a different way to the combat, obviously. Yeah, just a really solid game that I could not fault in any sort of meaningful way. So yeah, for those reasons and more, my game of the year.
Nice. Did you play Rogue Prince of Persia at all? Because that's also very good.
Yeah, I didn't. I intended to. I've got it installed on my PC. But yeah, haven't got around to it yet. I should though.
Prince of Persia was good too. Another one of those games where it was in my top 10 for like the first 6 months of the year and then it just fell out a bit. But really good. Really clever.
Shannon,
Nice.
Last one.
My number one is not going to be a surprise to anyone. It was Astrobot, which I know is going to get eye rolls from one Jumsy B. Berich. Nah, it is predictable. And I did, again, I just thought about what I genuinely enjoyed. I am a platformer at heart. Like, they're the type of games that, like, just hold my attention, which needs holding. The game had no filler moments at all. Like, playing through the Christmas level last week again, it was so nice to be back in that world with something new. And yeah, whilst I wish they did more with some of the gadgets, and I think there's a lot more room there to do some cooler stuff, like, it was just genuinely fantastic. Like, if there were 500 levels in that game, I would still be playing it. Like, I don't think I'd be sick of it at all with how just solid it was. Like, it's the best platformer that isn't made by Nintendo, and like their Game Awards speech where they thanked Nintendo as their inspiration. Like, you can just see it because it feels like a Nintendo game, obviously wrapped in PlayStation skins. But yeah, just a fantastic game. Again, this year for me was more around like what in a game in the year where I probably didn't spend as much time gaming just because I was busy with other stuff. Like, what really kept me coming back to it. And Astrobot was just one that I like couldn't wait to play each and every day, and I genuinely didn't want it to end. So yeah, it was my game of the year.
That's all good. I agree with us. I think Astrobot is very good, but you were talking just then about how all the franchises and stuff are in it. Everyone who's complaining about that, I think they should just like shut the fuck up. Because I feel like if you took all of that stuff out, the game is still very good, right? Like,
I agree. Yeah.
Like, I see so many people shitting on like it's not even product placement, but you know what, like the characters appearing and stuff. I'm like, it doesn't, like, they're just nice. It's like, it's not even icing on the cake. It's the cherry on top. Like, we've already got a full cake that's iced. Like, I just think
it fits. Like, it doesn't feel shoehorned in. Like, you believe that, like, Astrobot is all those characters for whatever reason. Like, it fits in the world nicely.
And it's cool, like, now you've got, like, Gex and Croc, which I would have never thought to see. Like, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I think, like, you strip all that out of it and you've still got a fantastic 3D platformer. It is just, like, the cherry on top, and that kind of, like, little moment of glee that comes when suddenly you find yourself replaying Ape Escape, or, like, in a Uncharted kind of level, that kind of thing. I think even if you didn't have any connection with those properties, I mean, some of those properties I didn't have any connection with. I hadn't ever played an Ape Escape game before, but I think it was, like, well enough done that you kind of could appreciate, like, what they were going for, and even with no connection, it was a lot of fun. And yeah, I did want to call out as well, like, I think the content that they've added to the game's been amazing. They've all been free updates too as well, which is worth noting. But, like, the speedrunner levels, I think, are really great. Even just getting, like, the Christmas level kind of in the last week or two, like, just a really nice touch. Yeah, really special game. And a game I think that will, like, stay in my memory long after 2024, which is probably quite fitting for Game of the Year. Nice. Well, we've gone long. Maybe we should have spun this out into a segment of its own. But I do have a rapid fire question for you before we go to What the Wiki and close out the show and close out the year of the Press Start podcast. The PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, and Steam Wrapped all dropped this past week. I was curious, what was your most played game of the year? We've discussed our favorite game of the year, but was your most played game any different?
For me, I think it was Suicide Squad, which I don't understand how it was Suicide. I mean, I did spend quite a bit of time with the beta, and then I did play most of the story. So it actually might have been my most played.
To be honest, I think, like, Suicide Squad, I wasn't in my top 5, but yeah, there was probably a lot of time just spent on the pause menu just contemplating life as well.
Yeah. And I think I had to play it twice, actually, now that I think of it, because I played it with James and then my thing didn't count, so I had to do it again. So that, it does kind of make sense. Yeah.
James, what was yours?
Mine was Mortal Kombat 1. So, followed, so it was 5 hours above Metaphor, and then that was just past Veilguard. So, just a game that I always return to because I love it and I play it regularly. So, with my friends or by myself.
Yeah. My most played was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that is. Well, which I think is probably just a consequence of me taking my sweet precious time with that game. But yeah, surprised me a bit. What I found this year, though, is, like, my spread of games was very even. Like, it was like 60 or whatever in Final Fantasy. Whatever. I think it was more than that, actually. Maybe it was like 80, 90 odd. And then, like, I was like 70, 65, like 55, that kind of thing across all my games. So just a very even spread across different games this year. What the Wiki is the Press Start podcast game show where the previous week's winner is part of Wikipedia page for an unknown game, and we, the contestants, must guess the game. A point is awarded for each correct guess, with the round concluding after one person bags themselves 2 points. I was last week's winner, climbing up to second, or narrowing the gap to James, I should say. James, you're still in first place on 41 points. I'm just behind on 40. Shannon, you're on 32 points. Brody's in fourth on 29, and Harry's bringing up the rear.
I feel like I should have
points.
hosted. And we should have had a showdown.
True. I didn't appreciate this is the last one of the year. It's like James has won it.
Should be all or nothing at James. Are you willing to put it all on the table in it?
Oh yeah, sure. Whatever. Let's go. No, I know.
With you entering the questions, you just never know where it's going to go.
Shannon, should I just send you my list of games and you host?
Yeah.
I really should have thought this through. This is a bugger.
Come on.
Let's think about this for next year. We want to make sure we kind of like have a final round where we can kind of claim a winner. But I'm very pleased with my effort this year. Podium finish, coming so close to James. No one would have thought it would be possible.
Well, if I win this, we've got on record James saying it's all or nothing, so I'm going to crown
Yeah. All right, game number 1. The game is an action-adventure game played in a 3D environment from an isometric perspective. It can be played in both single-player or cooperative mode with up to 4 players. In contrast to the role-playing games that traditionally dominate the magic and high fantasy genres, the game has no character class structure. Similarly, there is no mana bar or energy meter that limits the use of special abilities, and players are able to access a majority of the most powerful spells from the beginning of the game. Magic spells can be cast without limit, and power limitations are largely based on ability combos. The game is also exceptionally scant in its utilization of power-up items, as one of the developers' goals was to shift focus away from the acquisition of material goods or loot as play motivation. The game is an action-adventure game developed by Arrowhead Game Studios. It was released via Steam for Microsoft Windows. Shannon?
Helldivers 2.
It's not Helldivers, no. The game was released on Steam for Microsoft Windows on Jan 25th, 2011. That was the end of the paragraph there, so Shannon, you're back in. The game is based on Norse mythology. Up to 4 mages of a sacred order travel to fight against an evil sorcerer and his creations. The game world is based loosely on Norse mythology, drawing inspiration from other fantasy games like Warhammer and Diablo. In expansions, the game also explores the Vietnam War, which I did not know.
James.
It was a big surprise. James?
Is it Magicka 2?
It's not Magicka 2, James.
Shannon.
Yes?
Is it Magicka?
It is Magicka. Yes, Shannon. He would have
The
thought.
pressure's on. Big pressure day.
Story about relationship.
Game number 2. Here we go. The game features gameplay elements very similar to the first 2 games in the main series. It is a puzzle platform game with elements of a sandbox game. Like other games in the series, the game places a heavy emphasis on creation. Players create their own levels, characters, objects, such as power-ups, tools, decorations, stickers, or vehicles.
Shannon.
Hub levels. Shannon?
Scribblenauts 3.
No, not Scribblenauts 3. Players create their own levels, characters, objects, such as power-up, tools, decorations, stickers, or vehicles. Hub levels, pods, or other things. Players may share their creations. The core gameplay revolves around navigating colorful and vibrant levels with a set character, using power-ups, jumping, swimming, swinging, grabbing, interacting with switches, and non-player characters, defeating enemies, completing the main objectives, and finding collectibles such as collector bells, stickers, materials, objects, and gadgets. The end of the paragraph. I'll throw it back open again. The game introduces 3 new characters in addition to the hero.
James.
Each with their own... James?
Is it Little Big Planet 3?
It is Little Big Planet 3. Well done, James.
Damn, if I was ever going to get...
Stickers and, like, hub, maybe the kind of giveaways there. Or the pods. Sorry, the pods. The character's home. All right. Game number 3, the tiebreaker. It's all come down to this. The game is a fantasy action role-playing game, playable from either a first or third-person perspective. Shannon's already grimacing. The player may freely roam over the land, an open-world environment based on Scandinavia, consisting of wilderness. James?
Is it the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim?
It is Skyrim.
Damn it, I was going to say that. No.
So we finish up with James retaining the crown, 43 points in
So
the
boring,
bag.
James. Like, retire, bitch.
We've tried everything, every rule change in the book to try and keep James off top spot. Can't be done. If you have any suggestions for how we can shake up the game for the new year, let us know.
Someone
but James,
take him out.
top spot, 43 points. Me in second on 40. Shannon in third on 33. Brody in fourth on 28. Couple of changes in the mix there, but still James on top. But with that, let's bring an end to what was this week's episode and another year of the Press Start podcast. Subscribe to us on Listener or the podcast service of your choice. Follow us at press.au and visit the site at pressstart.com.au. We've been joined today by Shannon.
Yes, you can follow me at Shannon Grixty, and we'll be wrapping down our games of the year for the last 10 days of the year, so head to the website.
Given how different ours were, and considering we're not even a fifth of the total contributors to that, right? Like, I'm very curious to see how they all play out. Yeah. Also joining us today, retaining the Wiki crown, it was James.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter or X at @JamsATJAMZ. I'm also on everywhere else, but I don't know how to tell you to go there, so just you'll find me.
How do you plan to celebrate your win, James?
Don't know. I'm gonna go finish Indiana Jones or play some Marvel Rivals, I guess. But
nice.
Start studying for next year.
Just reading through random Wikipedia pages. And I've been your host, Ewan. You can follow me on socials at Ewan_Roxburgh. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, happy gaming.
Bye.
Bye.